so let me kind of let's get strapped in here. Let's see. Let's pull that. All right. So, sorry about that. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newsroom and welcome to the Goutopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, best beverage company. Let's go. Okay, so what are we talking about today? What are we talking about today? We are talking about apparently DSP, the subject matter of DSP taking Khet on a honeymoon has come about, and DSP has kind of retold this story a bunch of different times, and he does it a couple times a year because it's a real sore spot for him, right? Especially since Vestreak. From Vestreak, which was in 2020, February 2020, I think is when it started, up till now in 2025, it's a touchy subject. it's a touchy subject for him. So apparently he had himself a little bit of a hissy fit the other day about it. So we're going to go over it and have some fun with that because that's a thing. So let's go ahead and get ourselves acquainted a bit here. Let's see here. So let's go into what is my favorite segment. Hopefully some of you guys' favorite segment as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my TED Talk. So the subject of DSP and a honeymoon after, let's see, DSP and Khet have been married for 6 years, I think. Yeah, because they got married April 10th of 2019, I believe. Yeah, 2019, because she moved in February of 2018, and they got married, yeah, in April 2019. So we're talking, 6 or 7 years at this point. 6 years. At this particular point, and still no honeymoon, which I wouldn't expect one to happen, to be honest. I don't think she expects that to happen. Just like that trip to Japan that she was kind of always hoping for. That is, that's not happening either. DSP has no, what's the word I'm looking for? He has no desire or inkling to waste, keyword, to waste, or key phrase, to waste money on anything in that house that doesn't have to do with what values him the most, which is his playroom, his playpen, his studio / office / whatever the hell you want to call it. That's the only thing that he cares about in that house. He doesn't give a shit about anything else. Toilets can go to shit, literally. Showers can go to shit. Floor in the kitchen can come up. The ant problem, the roach problem. I'm surprised there's not a rodent problem. None of that matters. None of that matters at all. Having central air in the house, none of that matters. As long as he's comfortable and he feels accomplished in his space where he lives in, where he dwells, where he interacts with the world, and the world can see him in all of his graces, where his throne, air quotes, where his throne is. His throne of lies and slop and broken dreams and aspirations. That's all that matters. And that's all that'll ever matter, to be honest. Because what grown-ass man do you know of who owns a home or who owns a condo, who owns a piece of property and doesn't invest in it when they get large windfalls to do so? You know what I'm saying? In 2020, he had Vestreak, $30,000 just in tips. In the Keno Casino arc, which was which was last year, 2024, at least 50 grand that he got off the 8 months he was suckling off of Keno Casino. Not a single upgrade to that home. He's got blackout shades in his room. Allegedly, they're in some of the other rooms too. We can't verify that, so just let's scratch that. So really, just blackout shades in his room, ceiling fan. Allegedly, there's a ceiling fan in some of the other rooms. Allegedly, but let's just stick to what we know. Ceiling fan in his room and a bunch of gadgets and gizmos that make him feel special, that make him feel accomplished. Not a goddamn thing of anything else. As long as Khet has her DoorDash and the car runs so she can go to her job and come home, I don't think there's too much else that Phil feels that he needs to do for her. And I think that's the long and short of it, to be honest. This isn't some great revelation on my part or on anybody's part, to be honest with you. This is just simple observation. This is clearly what it is. Trust me, if DSP was doing other things to that house, he would speak about it as it's a sense of accomplishment because he's a grown-up. You know what I'm saying? He's a grown adult man. I'm a grown adult male. I can't even say that with a straight face because it's not true. With a business degree. You're telling me if he didn't have upgrades done to his home, he wouldn't tell people about it? He was desperate enough and pathetic enough to tell people that he had all these problems in his home when he needed the money. So once those things are fixed, once things are ratified, once things have been completed as they should be, don't you think he would boast about it? Makes you think, unless he was lying about those things. Now we know for sure that the toilet downstairs is broken. There's no rhymes, riffs. There's nothing out of place about that. That's broken, and it's been broken for a number of years. Was the shower in the upstairs, in their main bedroom upstairs, or adjacent to or connected to their main bedroom? Was the pipes really protruding out of the walls, and they were going to have to come in, and it was going to cost this very specific amount of money, if I remember correctly, to pay for all that? Is that true? I don't know. I don't know. I think there's something wrong with that shower. I think it leaks because DSP doesn't know his way around a toolbox or a tool bag anywhere, in any way meaningful. Like you don't understand the way around a woman's body. I can only assume that it's just there to suffer. Unless Khet, of course, is going to do something about it. So who knows what's really wrong in that house and what isn't. What I do know is they're never going to take a trip. Ever. Ever. He has too much PTSD from the last couple of times they've gone on trips. when he lied about the wedding and whatnot, and lied about his family sick and dying so they could get married. There's that part. There's the staycation nonsense when he thought he was flexing on all the haters and shit, and that was 4 days of nothing, and then comes back and KO Gaming's essentially in the toilet after having such a large windfall that allowed the staycation to come about the way it did. Nah, he's not going on any trips. And that he's too scared that he's going to be noticed. I mean, Jesus, I'm starting to subscribe to the theory that either DSP's license has been revoked, or he's literally at the point in life where he feels that he doesn't really need a license anymore. If he can always schedule him and Khet's days off to be consecutive with each other, not like that needs to happen. He works from home. He can literally take whatever days off he wants. If he could, as long as he could set that up, they literally could just drive around together. There's no need for him to do it. He's just that lazy. He may be the new practitioner of sloth style. You guys know that reference, you know that reference. Anyway, but he may be the new practitioner of sloth style, where now he's like, well, what do I need a license for if she got a license? So she can just drive us all around town whenever we need to, and that's less work for me. And see, now that I bring that up, I've been really thinking about over the last few years and some of the things that DSP has said as it pertains to taking time off, spending time with Khet, and all the meaningful bullshit they have to do, and so on and so forth. He, for the longest time, had to coordinate everything around her. Her day off, appointments, all kinds of stuff. Then she was kind of doing some of that stuff on her own, and you could make the assumption that he was doing stuff online. Then all of a sudden, she didn't want to go out to run errands anymore. So he would run out and do, he would run out to do some early errands. Then he would come home, pick her up. They would go off and do grocery shopping, and then they would come home. Then it turned into he was just going out and doing everything. He was doing all the errands. He was doing all the grocery shopping, unless he said that they had an appointment that needed to happen, or they needed to go to. Sorry about that. That required both of them to go. But honestly, I've been thinking this for a while, that they just get the groceries delivered to them, to the house. You know what I'm saying? Kroger or whatever the fuck they're choosing. DoorDash, Grubhub, all those places you can get your groceries through that shit if you want to. I think they only leave the house to either for medical reasons or medical or appointments or whatnot, and for their haircuts, and that's it. And she literally could just do all the driving. I'm pretty confident that's what's going on. I don't think he does anything, to be honest. Not if he needs to. Not if he doesn't need to. And it really makes me wonder if he just didn't renew his license. I don't think he got suspended for any type of reason. I just think he's like, what do I need to renew it for? I have Khet, and I'm at home all day. Why not? It really makes I don't know. I'm slowly starting to get there, because if you look at that history of running errands and all that bullshit, it starts to make me think that, you know what, maybe he really just doesn't drive anymore, and he just has Khet do everything. But then we have a problem, and then we'll go ahead and close up shop on this. Let's get into the video at hand. Then we get into a problem, as I see it. If that's the case, if Khet's pretty much doing everything and so on and so forth, then why won't he just send her to go out and get the food at some of these locations where they do DSP tries it? Now, most of you would say, well, hey, GTG, maybe she's at work, and maybe she wouldn't be around for that, this, that, and third. It's pretty fair to say at this point that she's probably working morning shifts or maybe even a mid. So if that was the case, why wouldn't he just have her get the food on the way home? Now that I think about it, if she is working mornings, why wouldn't he just have her do the grocery shopping on her way home on those days? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you have someone who works outside the home, and who he himself has verified that if she isn't off 3 or 4 days and whatnot, that she works at least early shifts. If that's the case, then why can't she just do a little bit of grocery shopping on the way home? He never, the way he makes it seem, he never allows her that sense of responsibility. Now, you could say, oh, well, he's a control junkie. That's all it is, and we shouldn't read any more into it than that. Well, okay, but yet again, as it pertains to this DSP tries it, you're getting paid $1,500, and you can't ask the wife, allegedly your wife, soulmate, whatever, to pick up some Sonics on the way home, bruh? And given how he plans, and the time frame, I should say, that he plans the DSP tries it, she would be getting off work, or she'd be on the way home anyway. So why not just have her swoop it up and get it? Why does he make it seem so urgent? Or why does he make it seem so strenuous to do this simple, basic shit when you have someone else in the home that can drive and who's already outside the house anyway? Or even if she's off that day, just ask if she'll go and pick it up. You're telling me she's willing to cook something? Allegedly, she's willing to cook stuff for you for these special events, but she wouldn't be willing to take a 15-minute ride to grab food and come home? Something to think about. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into the video itself. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, by the way. And let's see here. How are we going to play this? It's something that's been kind of going through my noodle, because there's always a reason behind the stuff he does. Not a good one. Not something that would be logical to any normal person. But let's be honest, it's not like we're talking about a normal person here. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see if we can find all of our assets here. This should be it right here, actually. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, yes. Okay, we're good. I got scared. Okay, let's see here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This was cut by yours truly, which means it's going to be a rough cut. Diggs will be back soon, I promise. But this is going to be a rough cut. All right, so this is, let's see, Dark Side Phil speaks on going on a honeymoon with Khet. This is from July 3rd of 2025. This is brought to us by homie Raw Phil. Big ups to him and whatnot. And let's see, I think everything's in order. So let's go ahead and get started. Here we go.
RC, the $5 tip from Shinkin25. Now that Taxi Life is thrown in the trash, can you play more Mario Kart World?
Oh, and let me speak on that for a minute. Taxi Life and Truck Sim, garbage. I don't know. He really didn't look comfortable behind that steering wheel. More often than not, it is what it is. I would love to see him play Mario Kart on his steering wheel. I'd love to see him play Mario Kart on that, but he's not going to do it. I know he's not going to do it because he's not willing to get the adapter needed for the Switch to make that happen. I'm pretty confident you can find an adapter that'll let you do that, but he won't do it. So it is what it is. Unfortunate on that. I will say, watching him get beat up in Knockout Tour in Mario Kart World is fucking fantastic. It's not just the troll names that pop up in that bitch that DSP doesn't seem to do anything about. None of that at all. Especially Panda 17, who they be working Phil out there on that course. That shit is fantastic. Big ups to them. But watching him getting frustrated at something that's so, Mario Kart is one of those games, right, that you're supposed to turn your brain off and just have a good time with. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm one of those proponents who says that, like, that I believe there is a skill gap in that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you take, like, there are literal, you know what I'm saying? There's definitely a skill cap to it, right? For sure, for sure. At the same time, there's a lot of randomness. There's a lot of bullshit. That's just kind of part of the fun of it, right? Like, you're like, no one's sitting down and playing Mario Kart seriously unless you're going for time trials or world records and shit. And even then, dude, there's so many fucking shortcuts in that bitch. It's like crazy. Okay, so for example, during the 4th of July, which in my timeline was literally like a day or two ago, right? Like during the 4th of July, bro, like I'm sitting around the fam and shit, we eating, drinking, we doing all kinds of crazy shit. And a lot of our nieces and nephews and shit got Mario Kart going and whatnot. And that shit's just, the shortcuts in there are fucking crazy. Like you almost have no limits. If you learn how to grind properly, you learn how to wall drive properly, you almost have no limits. There are like different things in that game that I honestly swore to God, I thought you would need the feather for to make it work. And after a while of just watching some of my peoples around me and shit, they're like, nah, like use the feather for this, watch this, grind up this, boost this, trick this, bam. I was like, oh, that's actually easier than the feather. And I know that sounds crazy because you just need one item and you just need to hit that ramp at a certain angle to give you that height. There's ways around that, bro. And it's getting to the point where people are starting to really figure out how to outmaneuver the blue shell without mushrooms, which that in itself is starting to get silly a little bit and whatnot. And I've only seen it happen like a handful of times. I certainly have not done it. But between what I saw that weekend and then what I've seen like on Reddit and some other spots and whatnot, because there are some discourse that are fucking Mario Kart fanatics, people are figuring shit out. That's all I'm saying. People are figuring shit out. So, like anything else, man, you put time into it, you get out of it. But for him, he's a dent. Just sit down, play the game, and have a good time with that shit. You don't have to turn it into anything more than what it is. Just sit there, get beat the fuck up, and be done with it. I saw Rich the other day. He was sitting there playing Mario World with fucking members, and he sat there and kept getting beat up too, and he just took it on the chin. But then again, he's playing with all members. Those people paid money to play with him. So I guess that's different. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just a simple game to, it's nothing more than what it needs to be. But if you're someone who's a loser and you need validation and you're looking for validation and meaning and purpose in your life with every little thing that you do, then it explains why he's doing what he's doing. I hope he doesn't give up Mario Kart, because I want to see that shit break him. I really do. I want to see that shit break the shit out of his ass. For real, for real. Straight up turn his ass into pig butt. That shit's hilarious, bro. I hope he don't quit it, but I feel like he's going to eventually. Because you can see it crushing his ego each and every game session he does it. But I love it, though. That shit's fantastic. That shit's fantastic.
RC, the $5 tip from Shinkin25. Now that Taxi Life is thrown in the trash, can you play more Mario Kart World?
Oh, my bad. My bad. There might have been a slight echo. Here, let me play this back one more time.
RC, the $5 tip from Shinkin25. Now that Taxi Life is thrown in the trash, can you play more Mario Kart World? It's hard to convince viewers you're successful if it takes 26 years to go on a honeymoon vacation.
He's not successful. He's not successful, and he knows it. Deep down, he knows it's not successful. And instead of addressing the success part, he hyperfixates on the 26 part. Even though, and here's the thing, he didn't even catch the meta in the shit, which is the hilarious part. So we know for sure that DSP and Khet have been married for about 6 years, give or take, right? The 2 in front of it doesn't really mean anything, right? Or at least, it doesn't have any real meaning to it. So literally, you could just throw that up there, just to throw it up there. He may have even dismissed it if the 2 wasn't there, right? DSP would have seen the 6 years and then been like, you know what, this is a dumbass troll, just, fuck it. But because DSP is so egotistical And by seeing that one extra number in front of the number that actually has meaning to him, that actually could hurt him, that was the bait. Now, I'm not saying that this person was thinking on that level, right? That's me overthinking shit, to be honest with you. But at the same time, this is the thing that, like, some of the older trolls that used to troll DSP without money, or with very little money, I should say, at times, they used to get him the bite on Twitch. And he would go for it hook, line, and sinker. Because DSP will go out of his motherfucking way. He will trip himself up to try to embarrass somebody else over nothing. And that's what really ends up starting this whole bullshit off. Think about it.
What? Wait, what? 26 years? What? First of all, those are two of the weirdest, most juxtaposed statements I've ever heard. First, you want me to play more Mario Kart. Then you say, it's hard to say you're a success if you don't go on a honeymoon for 26 years. I got married in 2019, bro. What are you talking about?
And then he led with the Mario Kart thing, knowing damn well that it wasn't going to go anywhere. Like, it's very clear that it wasn't going anywhere because the Mario Kart thing is actually attached to a fucking, to a criticism. So I don't even know why he even grasped on that. I guess, you know what I'm saying, take whatever you can get. So then he immediately dismisses that, and then he hyper-focuses on what he thinks he actually has a grasp on. Like, that shit's silly, bruh. That shit is fucking silly. I'm sure a psychiatrist would have a fucking field day with this shit if they could survive. If they could survive.
I don't know. Do I even address it? Like, do I even bother? It sounds like the guy's high or something.
Sounds like the guy's high. I don't know why drugs needed to be somehow, I don't know, shoehorned into this, but whatever. But truth be told, he could just let it go. You can tell that he kind of wants to. He kind of wants to let it go, but his ego's starting to get the best of him now. Now he feels like he already feels insulted because he got criticized for dropping a game, and now he's being told, because that's how DSP looks at everything, nothing's a suggestion, it's him being told to do something. Now he's being told to do something else that he clearly don't like, because he hates Mario Kart despite what he tells you. You know what I'm saying? Unless the money's high, of course, then it's a little bit different. So now he's trying to figure, should I let this go and just move the fuck on? Or is my ego gonna get the best of me and shit, and now I'm gonna have to puff my piggy breasts out so I can, you know, prove that I'm not the loser everybody makes me out to be. Watch. Watch.
I don't know. Listen, I could have gone on a honeymoon in 2019, and I would have been even worse off than I was financially because I would have done that. I think it would have been a really dumb thing to do, quite frankly.
So think about what he just said. I could have done something, but it would have put me at a deficit if I had done it. So then you really couldn't have done it. Then you couldn't have done it, right? Like, like, you kind of got two opposing narratives there. I could have done something, but I couldn't do something because it put me at a deficit. Despite the fact that, if you know the lore, his mother was willing to flip the bill on him going on a honeymoon. He said he was going to use that money for taxes, which is ironic because if you actually go back and listen to him on that particular quote unquote podcast post marriage, his mother did fork over money to him so he could get on a payment plan. So theoretically, that part was already covered. She was willing to kick out the money for them to go on a honeymoon as well. He said no because he had to get back to work right away. So it makes it sound like whatever additional funds that was going to go to that honeymoon, he just threw that in towards his taxes. But the reality is his mother had already given him money for the taxes to get on the payment plan. So he already had that kind of covered, or at least something to start his ass off with. He turned down the money for the honeymoon so he could get this money, so he could get that same money, so he could tell his mother he was going to use it on something else. Which more than likely he did. Probably went to gin and fucking WWE champions for all we know.
Because at that point, I was on my last legs, you know, financially. I was in insane amounts of debt. I couldn't pay my taxes. I couldn't pay my bills. I was back-ended on everything. Late fees out the ass. Interest rates up the butt. A lot has changed since then, right?
Another thing too. So you couldn't afford to go on a honeymoon, but you could afford to get married. Now I know most of you are gonna be like, wait, but his mom flipped the bill for that. Yeah. His mom's gonna flip the bill for the wedding for the his mother and his parents flipped the bill for the wedding and them to go out there for 4 days and this, that, and the third and whatever. But he wouldn't let them flip the bill on the honeymoon. Oh, that's right. When they went out there to Connecticut, that was not just them getting married, but that was also the honeymoon. That's how he thinks about it. But he won't say that though, because it's going to make him look like a scumbag and he knows it. That's literally what that comes down to. That's why he'll never combo that shit together. That's why he's too scared to. Because he knows it's just going to make him look like a fucking broke boy. And Lord knows DSP doesn't want to ever be addressed or be looked at or be identified as being poor. He hates that word. He hates the shit out. Matter of fact, so does Wings too. And so does Rich. They all hate being called broke, despite the fact they're all massive e-beggars. And they broke. And they all depend on their parents in some way, shape, or form. Anyway, whatever. Semantics. So there's that situation. That scenario is hilarious, bro. Holy shit. I'm telling you, he don't want to get into a conversation with a detractor. He really don't. At least a detractor who doesn't want to be nice. I'm talking about somebody that wants to go in there and cut his motherfucking belly open and shit and see how he reacts. Phil don't want no smoke with none of that shit. At all. At all. Holy shit. I want to be the first one on that list though.
A ton has changed since then. I'm now financially stable. I'm doing much better right here with my business as well as behind the scenes financially with all my responsibilities.
What does that mean? You don't have any credit card? Well, as far as we know, you don't have any credit cards, to be honest, and you got the bankruptcy to go through. What other financial obligations do you have? You're not saving any money, so you're clearly not in a good position there. You're literally living hand to fucking mouth, or hoof to snout, if you will. This dude doesn't have a lick of savings. He's admitted this multiple times when he's asked about it. All the money that came in through Vestry got splurged off on whatever the fuck. Everything that came in through Kino Casino got splurged off on whatever the fuck. So unless this guy has a secured credit card, or he did apply for a few more credit cards and the interest is through the fucking ass and whatnot, through the fucking roof, to be honest, he's got nothing. So how are you financially stable behind the scenes when literally you don't know how to even live in a cash saving sort of way? He completely and utterly is dependent on credit cards. Completely. Like, think about the first year or two after the bankruptcy was granted. He was fucking skittish as a motherfucker. I mean, dude, the guy was using his credit cards up until the bankruptcy, which is, I think, the dude who was there, the guy who was on the 341 call that was grilling DSP, even though people, they have their opinions plus or minus on how the guy did, I do think there was a lot of value. I don't know if I ever did that call. Better late than never. But there was a lot of value in what that guy was saying as it pertains to when did he know that when he was in insolvency, and when did he actually stop using those credit cards? Those are two very, very good questions that we didn't really get great answers on, to be honest. I think, honestly, he was using those credit cards all the way up to the bankruptcy. Damn near. Or pretty close, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was living hand to mouth on that shit because he doesn't know how to handle cash. He doesn't know how to budget. He never learned how to do that. And if you don't believe me, go to Alt. Go to Alt and ask him to ask you about those FGC days and shit and how DSP was funding all of those tournaments and how he was, and at ECC that one year, East Coast Championships, how he had thrown all that money on credit cards and shit to get all those extra supplies and stuff for the arcade machines and so on and so forth. He don't know how to budget. Like, DSP don't understand shit about budgeting at all and whatnot. So it makes sense to me that he needs a credit card to live. And then, even then, as the basic consumer that he is, he falls into the trap of just paying the minimum monthly payments. And once he's able to get a clean bill of credit card health, he'll do the same thing. He'll go right back to the minimum payments. He'll never actually try to pay the damn thing off because he'll always make an excuse in his head. Oh, don't worry about it. I have this much money coming in tomorrow or the day after that or the day after that. So I'll never need to worry about it. Think about how he was justifying his credit card spending back in the day. I have YouTube, or no, let's do it in order. He had, well, he still has. He had Pay Me Tons. He had Twitch. Or no, he had, yeah, Twitch, and then he had YouTube. So, and then he had the behind the scenes begging. So he always had some type of money coming in, and somehow none of it was enough. So you think over the last 5 years he's gotten any better at it? No. He's probably just blown through whatever Khet's credit cards are. Or whatever credit cards he was able to apply for, the interest rates are up the fucking ass and whatnot, and he's damn near maxing those things out each and every month. More than likely. And then I was thinking, well, after you get a bankruptcy, isn't there like a period of time before you can even apply for credit cards? There are stories online, especially on YouTube. There are people who don't mind coming out and talking about this, where, like, for example, this one family had $600,000-$700,000 worth of debt. It's a whole mess. Anyway, they went to a bankruptcy, got the whole shit discharged. I think dude said within like 6 months, there were credit card companies ready to pass them $20,000 fucking credit cards and shit. Interest rates were up the ass, obviously, but they were there. They were ready. You know what I'm saying? They were ready and waiting for them. It was like the credit card companies knew. And they were all the same companies that just got the shit discharged. They were waiting for them. So, as an example. So, please believe nothing's really changed. Things are just going to be a whole lot worse this time around. He hasn't gotten smarter. He really hasn't. He believes he has. So it'll be easier for him to be preyed upon. But he hasn't actually gotten smarter.
Things are healing, as they say. Thing is, it takes a while. You know, I declared bankruptcy, and it takes many, many years to get that off of your record. I'm still not. You know, I'm about halfway there, actually. And if I maintain the course of what I'm doing, you know, things will bounce back, you know?
When he means bounce back, he just means he'll be able to get credit cards again. That's all he really means.
So eventually, could I go on a honeymoon? Yes, I could. Absolutely, I could. It's definitely...
Because there's no way in hell, let me put this out there. There's no way in hell he's going to be able to get that house refinanced. Not if the appraisal and the house inspector gets in that bitch and actually sees what's what. He's never going to get that shit done. No. Not without him actually having to kick out money to get the repairs done. And he's not going to do that. He's not going to have a way of doing that. And then there's an interesting theory going around, I should say, that maybe Dave and Linda have cut DSP off financially. You know what I'm saying? Which could be a thing. They've been supporting him the whole time he was in Washington. And they supported him damn near the last few years he was in Connecticut. Actually, let me take that back. They were supporting him basically since he got fired from the helicopter company. You know what I'm saying? So let's say they cut him off and let's say they did it right before Keno Casino came in. That's 2024. Okay. DSP got let go in 2010, end of like late 2010. So they damn near supported his ass for like 13 years financially. I mean, like I said, they paid for him to get married while he was making all this money on YouTube and Twitch or on the internet at large. And they were still supporting him. You know what kind of financial drain that is? You know what kind of money they may have lost each and every year on his ass? And unless Dave is really, really savvy and he was somehow writing that shit off on his taxes, that's a net loss for them. That's money that could have gone into their retirement. Think about that.
Definitely a possibility, but I don't know what you're getting at. Saying that I didn't go on a honeymoon for 26 years when I've only been married for 6 years is a little silly, don't you think?
But why won't he address? But he never really addressed why he couldn't go on a honeymoon, though. Like I said, he didn't mention what about the financial windfall that came from the vestry? What happened to the financial windfall that came from the Keno Casino collapse? It makes you think. It sounds like he just doesn't want to take that bitch nowhere. That's really what it sounds like. He doesn't see any value in doing so, so why should he? If he's not willing to invest in his house, why would he invest in his family? We can't even get Jasper a $300 blood test. So why the fuck would we invest in the fucking wife? As long as she got her DoorDash, she'll be fine.
Anyway. So, thanks for the tip. I have no idea what you're talking about. It sounds like you're high. Cool. All right. So, by the way, a lot of people are trying to tag me and say hello. Good morning, everyone. I see a lot of people here. We got King Michael. We got Chris.
And it's weird to hear an alcoholic sit there and try to throw an addiction back at someone else for their own stupidity. You want an example of that? I can give you one. Look at Wings of Redemption. Look at no further than Wings of Redemption. This is someone who was running around for years calling people high school dropouts. He's literally a high school dropout. This is someone who's gone around for years and called people junkies and drug addicts and this, that, and the third. His brother's a drug addict. He's an addict himself. He has a food addiction and whatnot. And yet he wants to sit there and throw that shit in other people's face. But when it's thrown at him, he goes ahead and starts tearing up and talking about, I can't control myself and this, that, and the third and all this bullshit. All this lame-ass gay shit. It makes you think. It really, really makes you think. It's really easy to throw that shit out. It takes a real man or woman to take that shit on the chin when it comes back to you. You know what I'm saying? Because Wings can't say, oh, all these people are punching down on him. These guys are much smaller than you. Literally and figuratively. Same thing with DSP. He can't say people are punching down on him. If you want to go, if you value a sub count, because you can't really value DSP's views, but if you want to value a sub count, you're bigger than just about everybody for the most part. But you're supposedly the victim. Makes you think. All right, so let's go ahead and that was that situation. It was brief, you know what I'm saying? But I thought it was an interesting thing to watch. Because if you really think about his circumstances, he doesn't actually have a reason on why they never went on that honeymoon, outside the fact that they just didn't go. He was quick to trip and fall and stumble all over himself to get himself up to standard, or what he believes is a standard, I should say, to keep running with Kino Casino. But you didn't want to take care of the woman who's been taking care of you for the last 6 years. That wasn't a thing. Remember, Phil, the reason why Khet's all fucked up is because of you. The reason why she's overweight, the reason why she looks stressed and burnt out and all this shit, that's all on you. That's all your fault. That's all your fault. So, you know, she was there. Remember, when you brought her in there, you needed that second income. You needed that shoulder to cry on. You needed that person to take care of you. She did all of that, or at least to the best of her ability. And look at what she got in return. You can't even let her have a honeymoon, bruh? Or maybe she really don't want to go nowhere. She doesn't really want to go anywhere or go nowhere with you. Maybe she doesn't really want to be around you. Maybe that's what it is. So maybe it's not that you guys can't have that honeymoon. It's maybe because she don't want to actually do anything with you anymore. She's outgrown you. Literally and figuratively, figuratively and literally, and whatnot. Maybe that's what that was. Because remember with the whole Space Needle situation, which led into the State of Decay 2 debacle on Twitter? He was mad because they couldn't go off to the Space Needle because she was sick. He was already incredibly upset and frustrated about that. Then one of his dents tell him about, hey, there's all these people that are playing State of Decay too early. All this, their streams are on Twitch are doing great, making all this money, and then he sat there and fucking crashed the fuck out. Called everybody shills and sellouts and all this bullshit. Then had to apologize and walk that shit back and yada yada yada. It's a whole thing and whatnot. Good times, good times. But initially what popped that off was the fact that him and Khet couldn't spend any time with each other. Now she don't want to spend time with him at all. We saw how long that whole collaboration on games thing worked out. She was the one who cut and ran out of that shit. I think she's just outgrown him. I think that's the real reason why he don't want to go on a honeymoon with her. It's not that he doesn't want to. It's just she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to go with him. On top of his greed, of course. Of course. But I think that's what the real problem is. And he can't admit that. He's losing control over her, or influence over her, or relevancy over her. In the same way he lost relevancy over Panda. The only difference is Panda isn't all fucked up. You know what I'm saying? She was still fairly attractive, whatever you feel, when she picked up and left out of the Snort Fort. Khet is like 200 pounds heavier. And DSP has gone out of his way to do everything he can to make sure that he could stay in her way so she can't leave. As foul as that sounds, that doesn't mean it's not true. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys for the next one of these, whatever that may be. Hopefully sooner than later. Hopefully sooner than later. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Snort Report. This has been DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. A GTG Network of Productions. I've been your host / anchor GTG, and I'm signing off. Take care of yourselves, people. Take care of yourselves, people. Sorry about that honeymoon. Later.